Let's freaking go. Let's go. It is SEC game freaking week. Are you kidding me? I don't feel comfortable that all these other SEC teams have already gotten an SEC game under their belt, but here we are, right? So what is really interesting about this evening, okay, and I promise you we're going to get to all of this, right? Will Rogers versus Jayden Daniels. Probably don't have to talk a lot about Garrett Nussmeier tonight. What is said has been said, right? We are going to talk about Brian Kelly going up against Mike Leach. And we're going to talk about patience tonight, something that is very, very, very important, okay? Now, I know a lot of you have subscribed to Power Hour SEC. I really do appreciate you guys building my YouTube following on there. Hoping to build that into more of a national thing. And I'm always going to love PHL. This is one of my favorite things I've ever done, if not my favorite thing I've ever done in my career. And here we are. It is the SEC season. And it's not like high school football where, you know, everything is just a clean slate and your non-conference doesn't matter. The Florida State game is a part of who we are as a team. So today we're going to talk about some X's and O's things that concerns me about LSU going up against this matchup, that concerns me about Jayden scrambling going up against Mississippi State, because they do, with the defense that they run, have more speed on the field than your average defense. And I also want to talk a lot tonight about our video from earlier today. Now, if you haven't watched our video from earlier today, I spent the last 2 days, and honestly, this was research that I started to do back in 2019 because there was such a big deal about the LA. Carter owes $10 for being late. BK paid his debt. You know what? That was such a clever super chat. I should do that. Mine would be 10 cents, though. I don't have BK money. We can have a party at the end of the year, like Rob G says. I want to shout out Mike Anzalone. He did join the PHL T-shirt club. Shout out to you, my friend. As did many others. Shout out to Buster, I believe 3-time member now of the PHL T-shirt club. He doesn't have one. He doesn't have two. He now has 3. We got a few 3-timers. I think Rob G is a 3-timer. So I think Pegasus is going to join the PHL T-shirt club. I think tonight is his night. I feel it. I feel it in my bones. I really do. He's at every live chat. He always brings the heat. But, you know, earlier today, this is something that I always find to be very interesting, is people will write 1,000 comments about exactly what I say in a video, right? That's part of that's part of being in this business, right? It's part of why I like live streams better, because in our video from earlier today, I showed a lot of clips from 2019 LSU and Ole Miss to talk about LSU versus Mississippi State. And I've gotten so many messages from people. What are you doing? Why are you talking about Ole Miss? And they wouldn't even wait until 2 minutes into the video to explain why I was showing that particular game. So if you want to see why, you can go watch the video that I posted earlier today. And, you know, it was obviously a lot of research. Let's see here. This is for being late tonight and for the next time start our party, kitty. I love it, man. Rob G, man, your message earlier. Rob G is also a big fan of the Power Hour SEC channel. Rob, I got to say this, right? Your comment about the hot tub, I could really use a hot tub right now. A hot tub time machine, if you will, right? So we can go all the way back in time. Well, actually, I wouldn't change anything about LSU. You know, we've been very blessed as a fan base. I know a lot of people, well, actually, I would go back in time and tell Rich Rodriguez to take the Alabama job. That's what I would do with the hot tub time machine. Okay? This is so funny. You start winning games, then Carter will be here on time. I love it. I love it. It is amazing now how the 24/7 news cycle works. Like, that story was so big the reporter talking back to Brian Kelly. And it's very interesting that everyone's like, "I'll fire that reporter. She shouldn't have been fired for that." But like I said at the time, I was like, I want to do a video on this, but the story's going to be gone by the time an actual game is going to be played. So yeah, Victoria, good to see you. Skipper got his 4th PHL t-shirt. There you go. Got to get the whole family rocking it, right? I still haven't gotten clearance. There is a photo of William, one of our PHL patrons, who is all wearing PHL shirts. Okay. I'd go recruit Joe Burrow in the 8th grade. TJ Yeldon scoring on the last play, but Tigers put mine at ease later against the Jaguars. So John Sibley, a festive weekend for you. Good to see all the bros getting together. That's good. Chris, go ahead, take care of your business. Ellie Mom, thank you for your very nice email earlier. I really appreciate you. She is also a member of the PHL T-shirt club. So tonight, I want to talk a little bit about everything, right? As we move closer to game week, we will learn more about LSU. We will learn more about Mississippi State, right? First thing here, though, is I do think Mississippi State got themselves a Jim and Xavier Thomas, right? That was my favorite wide receiver in Louisiana last year. I liked him way better than Preston, Anderson, all of them. And they already got him returning punts as a true freshman. And I hope he doesn't have a homecoming in Tiger Stadium because their skill guys aren't that good, right? They lost Malik Heath. They lost Mekhi Polk. Heath was, suspended in and out of the lineup last year, but Mekhi Polk was their big-time weapon. He had a good game against us last year. And their wide receivers dropped a lot of passes last week. On the other hand, their DBs have some of the best ball skills of any secondary I've seen. They have hands for days. So you've got to be really careful about that. They're really good at punching the ball loose. They're just a really, really good group of defensive backs led by Emmanuel Forbes, who last year got knocked out on the Cole Taylor deep touchdown pass where 2 DBs ran into each other. So, for me, I feel good about LSU's defense up to a certain degree. Right now, the unit is not that good. I feel like LSU's defense is lacking, obviously, in the tackling department. And honestly, if you were to just go through position by position on the LSU defense, and I brought this up in our Mississippi State video from earlier today, the raw recruiting ranking. Now, once again, the recruiting ranking isn't the be-all, end-all. But if you go position by position, our defense is mostly 3 stars, right? It's not the traditional LSU defense, right? Most of the best LSU defenses are comprised of the 4- and 5-star recruits, right? There's a lot of 3 stars. Now, that doesn't mean your defense is bad, but it does show that we lack some of the top end ability that we are accustomed to having, right? And look, it's starting to look day by day that, Micah Baskerville could be an all SEC level player. So it should be very interesting. Let's go to Victoria right here. Brings up a very good point right here. Victoria, thanks for your generosity. Excited to see how we will utilize John Emery. Let's go. I love it. I could see Victoria saying, let's go. I love it. Yeah, so let's talk about John Emery. First thing, obviously, the fresh legs are going to be really good. It's a blessing and a curse that he wasn't allowed to play in the first couple of games because you do get him fresh. And the undeniable truth is LSU is going to be the way fresher team because our best guys are already out of the game by the first. So, yeah, that's obviously really, really good. Now, as always, a running back isn't nearly as important as the play call and the play design. It's not the case more often than not at other positions, but at running back, you really got to have good blocking, you got to have good play calling. And Victoria, the biggest thing here is how will LSU block the 33-5? So they asked Brian Kelly about that earlier this week. He says he has faced the 33-5 stack. And what's interesting about it is not many teams at the Division I level run it. Now, what's very interesting, though, is in high school, they run this defense a lot. And the basis of the defense is surrounded on confusion, right? What they want to do is give the center a lot of conflict. So they'll put obviously the 3-3-5, they'll stack the defensive lineman, they'll put 2 and 4 eyes on the inside shoulder of the offensive tackle, and they'll put a body right head up on the center. So what they're going to try and do is generate a lot of difficult blocking assignments for us this next week. Now, what we did to counteract and what honestly won us the game last year versus this defense was when we ran counter, right? Counter was the basis of our whole game plan. Even our touchdown passes, the deep one on the blown assignment to Trey Palmer was a play action out of a fake counter, right? And it confused their defense. So it's going to be interesting. You know, counter isn't necessarily a Dim Brock staple. I mean, when you think counter, you don't think about him, but I think LSU is going to try and run it to hopefully slow down what they're going to do. Now, I think they're going to try and do that with John Emery. And honestly, Victoria, a big thing is going to be, you know, throwing to your hots, catching the football out of the backfield. And this has been the case for 3 consecutive years. LSU has been, quite honestly, Victoria, the worst team I can remember throwing to running backs out of the backfield. We just can't do it. I don't know why. And I know Rob G has brought this up before. You know, Christian, he hadn't been here in a while, has brought this up before. Throwing to your running backs is such a big piece of what you can do offensively, just because it gives the defense just something else to account for. And something else about throwing to your running backs is that it's a shorter pass, right? It isn't, in theory, easier pass, but we just simply can't do it. I don't know why. Our screen game couldn't never get blocked right last year. We haven't really tried to do much of that this year. So hopefully John can give us a little bit more explosion in the running game. I feel like, you know, our running back room right now is decent, but not ordinary. You know, we don't get a lot of explosive runs. Obviously, against Southern we did, but that was Southern. And something that we do need to keep in mind about the Southern game is, yes, we did play really well, and you give LSU a lot of credit for doing that. But a lot of the mistakes Southern made were just simple mistakes, right? Not the quarterback running back exchange on a third down where it honestly was blocked fine. They might have gotten it. The interception, the pick six, you know, staring down, get the ball deflected. That was a good play by us. I'll give them that. But, you know, they just made a lot of mistakes, and that helped us out big time. So, yeah, thank you so much. Let's go. I love it. Thanks for all your super chats tonight. We are off to a hot start. I really appreciate that. It's a good point here by John Sibley. You know, tackling in space is huge. Absolutely huge. We say hi to Chase. We say hi to our HVAC expert. What's good? Got some questions here about Jay Ward moving to nickel. We'll talk about all that tonight. The defense will have to tackle in space. Yeah, our tackling right now isn't great. So, yeah, I think one of the Southern missed tackles is kind of a pet peeve of mine, though. When Greg Brooks and Jay Ward, it was earlier in the game, missed a tackle. I think, you know, some football rules don't make sense. Why is it that a defensive back can't lead with their head, but a running back can lead with their head into a defender? So Greg Brooks got blown up on a play. The running back initiated contact directly to his head, right? While Greg Brooks was making sure to avoid contact of his head because he was coming down pretty fast. It drives me insane. It drives me insane. You want to talk about a play that'll give you really bad damage to the neck region and up. That's it. It drives me up a wall. I've brought it up 1,000 times. You got to protect defensive players as well, right? And, you know, I don't fault Greg Brooks for missing that tackle. If he can't target you should not be allowed to target him. But still, we've got to start bringing some people down. And our linebacker play right now is not LSU standard. It's not. I think part of it is, it's hard being a thumper, right? It's, when you see LSU struggle with something, sometimes it's good to appreciate the guys who used to be really good at those things, because something that happens at LSU is, it's not a rebuild, it's a reload at certain positions. So, we all remember Devin White. Everybody does. And we all remember Patrick Queen because, he was the MVP of the national championship game. But, the vintage LSU football Twitter account, tweeted something out about Kevin Minter today. You had 20 tackles in a single game versus Florida. You appreciate these thumpers. Kelvin Shepard, who's a coach for the Lions now, you appreciate these thumpers a little bit more now that we're struggling tackling, because I don't know if we have a true thumper on our team. And the funny thing about it is we think of, spread offenses as throw the ball around the yard kind of offenses, but that's not what they're doing, right? A lot of spread offenses spread you out to run it, right? Go look at Ole Miss's run to pass ratio last year was 55% run, 45% pass. Arkansas, that's what they do, right? They run out of their spread. So, it makes it harder because you got to play lighter boxes. Last year, you hear the term, are you going to run a 3-4 or a 4-3? Well, it doesn't really exist. It's you have a 6-man box and you have 5 defensive backs. That's what it's more than likely, the case, right? So, Mike Jones, Greg Penn, put your hard hat on, right? Now, the good thing is Mississippi State, they do not, and I mean do not, run the football that much. But I do think when you watch LSU's defense on tape, you are going to want to run the football, right? I would force LSU to prove without big number 0 in the lineup that you can stop our running attack. We have to remember Emory has not played in a long time, so we can't expect him to break out just yet. So I'm going to spend some time on this. That's great. Good to see you, Jared. I appreciate it. Okay. For me, true. But the opposite could also be true, right? That he is fresher than everybody. Something else to keep in mind, Rob G, and this was honestly pretty telling, okay? So the one thing that I have to say that I like a lot about Brian Kelly, now this is just a memo to a lot of people, right? You might be new here. We're all LSU fans here, okay? We all want LSU to win, okay? But I feel like it is my job to be honest. So I'm not going to sunshine pump Brian Kelly all the time. I am going to do it here because he does something that he doesn't have to do as a head coach. He's very honest about certain things. Now, he's not as direct to where he's just blatantly telling you something, but there was something that he said a few weeks ago during a press conference when John Emory was initially announced that there were some issues academically, okay? So, shout out to Max holding down the New York City chapter. Jacoby Stevens would have been great in this defense. I agree. I do. I'd love him at linebacker right now. And he should have switched to linebacker. I won't get into that, though, right now. So, here's what's really interesting. Is a few weeks ago, Brian Kelly said we don't have a special running back. In fact, I might still have the clip right here. Let me see if I do. If I have the clip, I will play it. See it right here. Here we go.
You guys know the situation with John Emory. I really can't get into the specifics of that because of the Buckley Amendment, but he's certainly a guy that's going to be part of what we do this year. Then Noah Cain, as I mentioned, was really impressed with him today. Amani is a guy that we're going to count on. Williams has been probably as consistent as any back that we've had. And Nick Demas has done a really nice job. So, Leonard Fournette is not in that backfield. I mean, so, we don't have like that marquee guy, if you will, but all of them, complement each other very well. and I think we'll be very effective at that position. And I think each one of them can contribute in a manner that will allow us to be successful at the position.
So, that honesty right there was very key for me. He's telling you that, look, we don't have anybody back there that can go out there and win a game for us on their own at running back, right? And, it's just shown. That's who those running backs were before the season began, right? Brian Kelly is just telling you that. And that was just some good honesty. Something else, Rob, that also explained that to be true is that even in the weeks leading up to the Florida State game, you would see John Emery getting a lot of reps with the ones, even though they knew that he wasn't going to play. Now, why is that? Well, Brian Kelly brought this up in a press conference earlier that, LSU kept John Emery in pretty much all drills, that they weren't messing around with him, that they really want him to be a part of what what LSU is doing. So, truth be told, this is John Emery's time to shine, and he should be ready. It would be different if they had him off to the side, not practicing, but they kept him warm because they knew that they were going to need him. Okay. Thanks again, once again, to Jared for his generosity. Once again, if you have a super chat, we'll get straight to it. Jacoby Stevens, he would have been a good fit, right? But yeah, the tackling is very interesting. I want to shout out Doug Knows. He's one of our smartest viewers. I think I see Amacat in here. Mason, good to see you. Mason still hadn't invited me to his tailgate. I get it, though. This game suits Mike Jones' skill set. Hopefully he finally has a coming out party. It's true. This is a more passing oriented game, where, he's been one of the best coverage linebackers in college football since he's been playing. So I think it's going to be hopefully a big game for him. Okay. Jordan, life is great. Okay. Covering in space. This is a Mike Jones type of game. So, one thing that was interesting, as I was doing some research on this earlier, one thing that really helped LSU versus Alabama last year is that they came out in a defense that they had no idea LSU was going to run. The same thing happened versus Mississippi State, where Mike Leach was talking about what LSU was doing defensively. And what did LSU do versus Mississippi State? Well, they rushed 3 and dropped 8. So I'm going to be honest, I actually bet the over because I thought LSU was going to do what they did in the first couple of games of what they did versus Mississippi State the year before. And the over still almost hit. But still, LSU rushed 3, drop 8. Is that what LSU was going to do versus Mississippi State? I hope not. I don't think that they should do that all the time. I do think Harold Perkins could be a very interesting player because at that jack linebacker position, he does give you a little bit more speed than B.J. Ojolari. Now, he's not the same type of player, but he could give you some coverage ability. And once again, the guy's going to make a special play at some point. Hopefully it's this weekend. We could use it. But yeah, there's a lot of things that I do like about LSU in this matchup. I don't like I like our wide receivers matching up against anybody, but these are probably the best DBs that they're going to play. Mississippi State secondary is really good. There's a lot of teams in the SEC that have shaky secondaries. Mississippi State's not one of them. Their tape versus Arizona was really good. And Arizona's wide receivers are the strength of their team. They have the Cowan kid who was a transfer from UTEP, who is, I think, the number 1 wide receiver in the portal this last year. And they also have Treatoria McMillan. He was a top 100 recruit. And they honestly just shut him down. They just could not get open versus those guys. And that's the thing. This defensive back group is very experienced for Mississippi State. Wheat's a really good player from them. I know there was some kerfuffle over Brian Kelly's pronunciation of Amite, Louisiana. No big deal for me. Still, Wheat's a good player for them. So going into the Mississippi State game, and we'll talk more about this once again throughout the week. the player and the numbers, you got to remember, is just a number 2, right? Wheat on defense wears number 2. Will Rogers on offense wears number 2. And those are their 2 best players, okay? So we shall see what happens, okay? Might get a 7 bank sighting in this game. Basketball and Perkins got a perk sighting. Good to see you, Carvis. Very happy evening to you. Seven banks, definitely need the depth at CB. Hey, if you rock that number, if you rock the Uno, if you rock number 1 at LSU, I want to see some big time production. I don't want to see Quantavious Leslie production. I want Jamar Chase. I want Christian Fulton type of production. If you wear the Uno, right? Don't be, if you're going to wear that number, there's been a lot of dudes that have worn that number at LSU. So I'm not messing around. You guys know the number thing is big for me. The aesthetic is big, right? So yeah. Yes and no, Pegasus, to this. At the very least, at least they know what they're going to see, right? I think Florida State's probably a little bit bigger of a challenge. For me, I as a DC, I just prefer to play a pocket quarterback. The best thing about playing a pocket quarterback, and Will Rogers actually can run fine. I think he actually should scramble more. But the best thing is it gives you more freedom as a pass rusher. And I feel as if LSU needs their front 4 to get home in this game. I mean, you need to get home every game. But LSU's pass rushers just aren't that great. We have one special pass rusher, and that's Jaquelin Roy. And he's just going to get doubled until the end of time for the rest of the year. Okay? So it's the other guys that are going to need to step up. And the second thing is obviously, as far as like defending their passing game, they're short, quick passing concepts that they run. So you need to get your hands up quick, get your hands up in the passing lane, and block a lot of passes. I feel like Wingo's done a really good job of that. And honestly, Desmond Little did a really good job of that in this past game. A guy like Savion Jones is somebody that, I'm very interested in. He's never going to be this Arden Key quadruple million sacks kind of guy, but he hustles. He plays really hard. He plays smart. He can give up some in the running game. He's not an edge bender, but he's a run and chase guy. He's going to chase some people down. So I am really freaking excited to see Savion grow, and he had a really good game this past weekend. And the one thing I just like about Savion is I never see him not playing hard. He gets after it. Okay, so Jay Ward should prosper playing a zone against all the crossing routes that they run. Flott had a big pit last year sitting in zone. He did. That was an incredible pick. That was the textbook definition of high pointing the football. It really was that great of a play. Jason, good to see you. You add so much knowledge to our chat. And shout out to you. Your boy Xavier Carter made his first big play of the year on special teams. The first play of the freaking game. He's given us good field position. So hopefully we see number 17 make more plays for us on special teams. Cordell was so good for us last year. I hate that he got banged up. Mama Flott started watching the channel. That was really cool. But yeah, a few of you have asked about the Jay Ward and switch to nickel and Brooks back to safety. So I'll talk a little bit about it. The first thing that I found pretty interesting about it is when they went dime, they actually brought Sage Ryan into the game as a 6th defensive back, and they actually moved Jay Ward back to safety and Greg Brooks back to nickel. That should be very interesting if LSU is going to do that. Honestly think LSU should run more dime. or whatever you want to call this package, right? I call it a Mustang. There's a lot of different ways you can call it, right? This 32-6 look, and see if you can dare Mississippi State to run and get out of what they like to do, right? And I hope they play Perkins more. I do. I just think, what he might lack in technique, and just overall size at this point, he does give you a little something extra as a player that can make something happen at the drop of the dime, right? He's going to have better ball skills than pretty much anybody we have on defense. So, I like the idea of playing him more. Now, am I biased towards my priors on my evaluation of him? Yeah, I am. And like I said, the hardest thing about evaluating him is that you don't know, what exactly is his best position, but I know he can play. That's all I know is I just think he's special. And hopefully he gets a big play for us. I'm feeling a Harold Perkins big play, something this weekend. But yeah, you're right, Jason. Death by 1,000 cuts. Blanche brought it up earlier in a video that we did. It's very important to keep in mind. You got to stay patient against this defense, right? What's interesting though is I don't think vertically that they can challenge you. Austin Williams to me is their best receiver. He's roommates with Will Rogers. He's torn us up. Like he tore us up really in 2020, but he tore us up. He gave us some issues last year as well. 85 for them. So yeah, I think this is a big game for Jay Ward, right? Get a pick six, take a chance, go for it. It is interesting to look at Will Rogers' numbers, 39 to 49, around 300 yards passing. Obviously a really good game for him. They didn't hit many bombs though, right? And the reason why we won that game last year is that we won the explosive play battle. And you have to like our matchup in terms of that. So there you go. Okay. What's very interesting. So I got a text right here from a national writer. So there is a 5-star basketball player named Carter D. Bryant. He's a class of 2024, and LSU offered him. And he just got an offer from Duke. Ha, 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 ha. That's crazy. That's so crazy. I love it, man. But yeah, I totally agree with that. Mike Jones has had issues this year. Basketball Penn and Perkins should be your linebacker with Ojolari in a stand-up pass rushing role. Yeah, I think the hard thing about it is I thought you were saying Coach K because I brought up Duke. Mike Jones has issues this year. But thank you, John Sibley. I appreciate it. Thank you for your generosity. I think Coach K has to understand that at LSU, we don't develop players, but recruit studs and fine-tune with them. This isn't Notre Dame. Do you agree SEC is a players' league? I do. I fully agree with you on this. It's all about your players. But at this point, John Sibley, I think Brian Kelly's doing his best at that, right? Obviously, the Desmond Ricks kid is coming, 2024 5-star DB. That's obviously, a massive piece to, a championship team that's having elite corners. So yeah, that's obviously really good. And he would obviously be a year one player starter potentially. But yeah, recruiting is pretty good. And he's recruiting at an SEC level right now, especially, let's be honest, this Texas A&M thing is starting to disintegrate. And there are a lot of people that LSU was after. Just saying, right? Denver Harris is one of them. Obviously has LSU connections. And obviously, Jacoby Matthews. We'll see what happens if they can turn that around. But yeah, I think that's why Brian Kelly came to LSU, right? This is not Notre Dame. And you guys know I'm not much of a troller. I've done my Notre Dame trolling. But still, Huh? Practicing on a Sunday? Really? That's going to get the point across? Hey, guys, you suck. So instead of resting today, I want your butts at practice. It is what it is. We are Marshall. I think in Louisiana, the streaming of We Are Marshall went up. And ironically, fun fact here, and Cody Worsham, who's now with LSU, wrote about this at the time. So Matthew McConaughey visited Baton Rouge for an LSU football game to study how to become a coach. And he came to Baton Rouge to speak to Dale Brown about the role in We Are Marshall. If I remember the story correctly, a lot of time has passed since then. I remember seeing McConaughey on the sideline. He was wearing an orange shirt, I believe. This is a long time ago. And I'm pretty sure I saw him on the sideline wearing an orange shirt. It's nuts, right? But yeah, We Are Marshall. And also another McConaughey. Boom. Oh. Okay. If you don't know that reference, that's fine. Movie was okay. But still. And shout out to McConaughey, fellow Texas Longhorn. Like you, John Sibley. Good to see you. Let's go to Jason Super Chat. Really appreciate it. Devin, what's good, man? We follow each other on Instagram now. Congratulations. I don't even know what to look at on Instagram. I'm just, you can follow me on Power Hour unless you had respond to messages on there. Just not much of an Instagrammer. I don't have a big booty. I'm not good with filters. I don't have great teeth. I don't drink kombucha or whatever you call it. I don't know. How do you feel about Emory Jones getting more involved in the rotation? I like his aggressiveness. Dude doesn't quit. Once again, it's one of those things where, you know, whether or not we like to admit it, we like to be right about our predictions, right? Like, you know, on Power Hour SEC, I do like these best bets, and I was like 50-50, right? I gave some predictions that hit. I gave some predictions that didn't hit. And for me, Jason, it's just one of those things where, you know, Emory Jones was my number one rated offensive player. So the way I had LSU's commits rated, Harold Perkins was my number one, Emory Jones was my number two, and Will Campbell was my number three, and Walker was number four, right? So, yeah, I think Emory Jones should play. I do. And I do think if our right tackle gets overwhelmed, you've got to play Emory Jones at right tackle. I know the idea is to start a guy out at guard and then move him to tackle. You just got to scrap that because our tackle play is very thin right now. Will had a good performance at left tackle. Right tackle, I'm fine with rolling with the Miles Frazier thing right now. But, you know, Emory Jones played right tackle, right? At Catholic High, right or left, I don't remember. But he played offensive tackle at Catholic High. So, you know, he's great. He's really, really great. You know, we did so many film studies on him, you know, just mauling people. I'm pretty sure he played left tackle at Catholic, blocking on screens. And, you know, if you watch, you know, Shelton Sampson highlights or you watch any of the Catholic kids highlights, you never see Emory, you know, having a bad play. Obviously, that's high school. This is college, but, you know, he's special. He's really, really, really special. So, yeah. Dang, Jordan, I don't know how you know that. I don't think I've ever been standing on this YouTube channel, right? But I actually do have a juicy behind. It's abnormally large, and there's nothing I can do about it, right? Me and Meg the Stallion, we're like number one and number two. I'll let you guess who's number one. I'll let your it's me, Meg, Shakira, and Larry Fitzgerald. That's it. Like, I don't know why Larry Fitzgerald popped to my mind, but he does have a massive rear. Not that I was looking, but it is it's us four. We are the Mount Rushmore of rear ends. So there you go. Pause. But yeah. Breakout game from Kyron Lacey. It's gonna be tough, man. The hard thing about like the Kyron Lacy and Chris Hilton things is like, where are they going to play? I could see Kyron Lacy playing. I just don't know if Chris Hilton's going to play. It's it's hard. It's really, really hard. Yeah, Tyler, I was talking about Denver Harris. I saw that video earlier. I don't understand. Okay. Why is it that elite football players love to drive really, really, really fast, like abnormally fast, like crazy, crazy, crazy fast? That video was scary, Tyler. Now, I'm not going to play it. I highly recommend you don't watch it, because to do that in a parking garage, and then there was another video where he said, I'm 18, instead of just apologizing for it. I don't know. Receivers in a sweep game would keep the ends from crashing, could open up more downfield attacks. Agreed. Now, the funny thing about this, Jason, is it's harder to run receiver sweeps versus a 3-down compared to a 4-down, right? A 4-down alignment that's locked in, it's easier to get that edge. We did that versus Southern. Obviously, we had the Keyshawn sweep. And I feel like jet sweep motion could be something that's big for our offense. We had a big one to Malik versus Florida State, but the snap was high and it threw the timing off. Now, because JAYDEN is a freak of nature as a runner, he still was able to, honestly, that was one of his more impressive runs in that Florida State game. He was able to finagle a 9-yard run out of it. But, yeah, jet sweep motion, I'm all about it. I'm all about it. So, yeah. But yeah, let me ask you this. I am just kind of curious. Do any of y'all have, because I don't drive much. I don't even have a car. I'd like to get one. That's part of why, I'm saving up money. These super chats are helping. But do any of y'all like have a desire to drive really fast? Like, and I'm not just talking about like, oh, look, in a 70, I'm going 75. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about like going like 90, right? Like 90, 100 miles per hour. Like that idea is just nuts to me, right? It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. So Blake, so Katie Joe's like, yeah, I'm gonna whip that thing. Get that thing going 50 gazillion miles per hour. Yes, over 100 every day. Only on the interstate. That's why I don't motorcycle anymore. I could see young Rob G and the wifey when I was young. By the way, the wifey's a part of the PHL T-shirt club, and you can be too. And I got some really, really good news, okay? So, in order for us to fully support QB1, we got to give out QB1 merch to our PHL T-shirt club members, and bang, I've already given out one of these. I have another right here, Jayden Daniels card. Everybody that gets a PHL shirt is getting one of these, okay? I got a few more coming in the mail, so I only have one more. But if you get one tonight, you're getting a Jayden Daniels card. There you go. And you support me, and you rock your merch. I have a feeling we're going to get a few more PHL merchers tonight. Nick, good to see you back. Parking garage, it's crazy. Like the parking garage thing is like kind of nuts, because all you have to do is just, be sitting in your car and, you lose control of that thing. It kills somebody. I just have no desire to drive that fast. It's just not something that I truly like get a rush from. Like, I think if I was like on like one of these like speed cars and like a NASCAR, I think it'd be kind of cool to like go that fast and sit in a car going that fast. But I don't know. I just don't get it. Like, I'm pretty sure in the Brody Miller piece that Kayshawn admitted that, he likes to drive really fast. We saw Anthony Richardson in a Charger, if you will. And he said at media days he has switched over to a Toyota Camry because of that. So yeah. Well, of course, Rico. I have a Real Madrid jersey. Like I don't hate Real Madrid. I don't. I just don't. There's not really an EPL team I hate at Liverpool. It used to be Everton because that was our top rival. But when I was in Liverpool a few months ago, my hotel was closer to Goodison than it was Anfield. And I walked by Goodison, and Everton fans were the nicest. And they bought Haley and I a ton of alcohol, Everton fans, because they knew we were going to our first Liverpool game. I don't know if they were trying to have some goodwill built up so they wouldn't get relegated. But yeah, I can't hate it. And honestly what it is, Danny. I don't think I'm going to be getting a car anytime soon. The Haley wedding fund, absolutely. Mississippi going down. What's up, LSU sports fanatic? If I had a sports car or a bike, I would lose my CDL in less than 24 hours. I think that's it, Blake. I think if you have like a Charger or if you have, one of these race car types of cars, I guess it makes you feel like you have to go faster, or it makes you feel faster. It makes you feel like you're guilty for not going at that car's capabilities, right? So we'll see. $100,000 wedding bill. Yes. A sports YouTuber who has a couple sponsors. That's it. And survives on the generosity of subscribers is going to have a $100,000 wedding bill. Exactly. In fact, did you know that Haley and I will be riding in to the wedding on elephants? Did you know that Stevie Wonder, flanked by Earth, Wind, and Fire, will be our wedding band? Stevie Nicks as the opener. Elton John making a cameo. That's us. But I would be remiss if I didn't talk about these guys. Pressy Collection, PressyCollection.com. John's already won the Pressy Collection contest tonight. Pressy Collection. You know about that, baby. Some people just want it all. But you do need diamonds for your ladies. PressyCollection.com is where you can get it. If you want a one-on-one consultation today for your next bling bling, it doesn't have to be a wedding ring. It could be anything. Pressy Collection, PressyCollection.com. Just shoot me a DM. Get you that one-on-one, baby. He beat you to it. If anybody knows Jimbo, it's Doug. I will say Doug is like Doug Stradamus, if you will. He called it. He changed his profile. I kind of bullied Doug into changing his profile photo, and I actually got to meet like actual Doug a few weeks ago. I got his photo pulled right over here. You turned out to be prophetic here. You and Lawrence Fishburne. Neo, the prophecy is real. I love it. The Aggies are very secretive, and the heat comes. You will not know until it happens. Alum's very wealthy, and a buyout is no problem. God, that would be the sexiest buyout of all time. I honestly, John, I don't think the buyout would be the biggest issue here. Okay. I think, honestly, the biggest issue would be the blowback. Because if you give him 86 million or whatever the buyout may be, the guaranteed whatever. If you give him that, then really like $10 million buyout to Kevin Sullivan, no big deal. That kind of buyout would be pretty substantial. That would make everybody go, now hold on just a second. Hold on just a second. But yeah, him and Coach O, they wouldn't be on the same stratosphere. They wouldn't even be. Jimbo would look at him like a peasant in terms of buyout money. So yeah, John, here's a question. This is my response, as always, to the replacement thing, right? Sometimes you just got to fire a coach to get him out. And what I think would happen, right, is if Ross Bjork wanted to do that, if he really wanted Jimbo to be fired and he didn't see a way forward, what would need to happen? He would have to go to Jimbo and say, look, we can't fire you, but if you can, relinquish your play calling duties. Okay? If you relinquish your play calling duties, we will win more. Your job will be easier. And all you have to do is just coach. But coaches have egos. Jimbo's got a big one. And this is not a Beyonce song. Egos aren't the best sometimes. Now that's kind of a deep cut Beyonce. You gotta be a member of the Beehive to really get that. Okay, or the Bayhive, if you will. You got a huge ego. That song. Talk like this, but he can back up. I love it. I love it. Tyler's going down with the ship, baby. Hey, I still think Nuss could be a good SEC quarterback. I just think he needs to understand who he is and who he isn't. I think one thing that a lot of quarterbacks struggle with, and what a lot of athletes struggle with, okay, is sometimes you need to quickly realize how athletic you really are, right? And I think part of Nuss's issue is he truly thinks he is an elite improviser, right? When he's not. He is a good pocket thrower, okay? Where he begins to have issues is when he tries to overthink things, right? One of his picks versus Arkansas was when he looked right and then threw left, and he still threw it straight to the safety, right? And a lot of his turnovers in his career have been when he's rolling out right, rolling out left. The issue, though, is he never runs with it. You've got to sometimes just run and take a 3-yard gain or throw it away. You know, even Mahomes' arm isn't special enough to sometimes hit every single window out there. Like the Hilton throw is still so beyond inexcusably bad that I don't know what his end result was in that scenario. I've watched it play 1,000 times over, and it was what Brian Kelly said. He's pressing. He's trying to prove that he deserves a chance to play, and that's just not what you do there, right? Wouldn't it be something else if Max freaking Johnson saves the day? I just don't. You guys don't know how I feel about Max, and it's not sour grapes. It's not. It's just, it's just not. Let's go to Blake. Look at that, man. If everybody dropped a $5 super chat, I can get the elephant bill down pat. Make sure I can get my giraffes for my $100,000 wedding. BK emphasized attention to detail and preparation is key to success this week. Opening SEC competition. Do we see improved offensive line? Right? I do. I think for me, this is a completely different test. This is their first odd front that they're going to see. If I'm Brian Kelly, tomorrow in scout team or whenever they decide to do scout team, I am throwing every type of look my offensive line's way, right? Blake, I don't think necessarily it's the level of competition that they're facing on Saturday. Mississippi State is a really good football team. I think it's more on Saturday how mentally difficult it is to play a 3-3-5. It could be very difficult. It could be very taxing. It's an obscure defense, right? Now, what is interesting is Garrett Dellinger did play in this game last year, if I'm not mistaken. And I think that's going to be good for him. He's seen it, right? Albeit at a different position. So, yeah, hopefully Charles Turner comes out there, plays really well. I think they should roll the same offensive line out there and see what happens. And, yeah. Hopefully we do. Okay. Now, the truth is we still have some battle wounds from the Florida State game. I totally get it. So, we'll see. Goose, what's up? Denley, welcome back. Let's see here. A Mississippi Dog comes in with the unbiased opinion here that Mississippi State will win by 20. Well done. I give you kudos for a bold opinion, but you hide behind a letter avatar. So you got to show your face if you're going to have a bold opinion like that. Here's Bruce. I agree. Charles Turner can get bull rushed. A lot of our guys can, quite frankly, get bull rushed. Our offensive line is while they are big, they do get out leveraged. They just do. But hopefully we can find a way around it. But yeah, I mean, look, LSU dominates the Mississippi State series, but Mississippi State's beaten us a few times, right? They've always had scrappy teams. And Mike Leach is going to be a Hall of Fame coach. So, I mean, let's do it. Frazier has been up and down, I agree. The Cam Florida State performance, we touched on that quite a bit. So we'll see what Deli and Bradford can do. It's a good question here from LA Mom. He's been there since 2020, and from 2012 to 2020, he was at Washington State and had a lot of success there. That's what they're going to do, Walter. They are going to sit back and force Jayden to beat him with his arm. And something else that's very important to keep in mind is it is harder as a quarterback to scramble versus this kind of defense, simply because the pressures that they give you are layered, right? So what I mean by that, it's not like a fancy football term that you'll hear a coach say, but what that means is, with Florida State, they brought a lot of like single layer pressure, right? Where if you're able to break the initial pressure, you're going to run for, a lot of yards. Whereas Mississippi State, they like to cross dog, loop guys around. And if you do tuck and run quick enough, they're able to redirect and chase you down a little bit quicker, if that makes sense. So that's going to be an issue. And it's a really good point, Walter. I really appreciate it. And Walter, I did send you a link for the Discord. You're one of our patrons. So we want to make sure that we get you in there chatting with us, my friend. So be on the lookout for that. Friday, what's good, man? Good to see you. So yeah, Frazier had some rough spots, but we'll see. We'll see. New position, well, newish position. So yeah, what's up, Goose? Good to see you. It's tough, Nick. And honestly, the best thing to do versus that defense is run on it, right? Run on it, because some of the blitzes that they can do if they get you in 3rd and long is difficult. It's a lot, and their secondary is really good on the back end. So yeah, a lot of computers like Mississippi State going into this year, right? Very experienced group with the quarterback who is very smart, intermediate, high efficient passing game. I know Brian Kelly used success rate a lot in this last press conference as far as like LSU's running game is concerned. But if you look at like, Stats War, very interesting, analytics Twitter account, Mississippi State's success rate versus Arizona was really good. So while they don't hit explosive plays, they still gain 6 yards here, 7 yards here, 10 yards here, 15-yard gainer here. ROGERS is really good. And what's very interesting is he delivered some really good passes that his receivers just dropped. Their drops and fumbling ball skills on offense were very concerning. And, I don't know why Mississippi State doesn't play Xavier Thomas. I could be totally wrong in my evaluation of this kid. He could play. Xavier Thomas can play. So we'll see. There you go. So Bruce, great minds think alike. We brought that up a little bit earlier. Victoria had a very good super chat. Yeah, I love counter. That's why we won last year. We were able to run counter. Jason Hines had some really good blocks for us in that game. And, that's what got TDP going. Counter versus Mississippi State, counter versus Florida. I'm a counter guy. I know inside zone, outside zone is what, most coaches like. I just love counter. I just do. The reason why I like counter is especially for LSU, is that, we don't have Herman Johnson out there. We don't have Damian Lewis out there. We don't really have Ed Ingram out there. Guys that can go out there and just move bodies and open holes on their own. Counter gives you a little bit more of a misdirection, and it aids your offensive line if you run it right. Okay, counter is it's my favorite thing. Now, for those that don't know what counter is, essentially, counter is a misdirection play where you pull 2 players from one side of the line of scrimmage to the other. Sometimes it could just be one player, but that's what counter basically is. Now, that is an oversimplification of counter. There can be lectures done on counter by people way smarter than me, but it's my favorite run play. Napier's an inside zone guy. Lots of different ways to run the football. I really expect Johnny Reed to make an impact, getting us to third and manageable. What do you think, Carter? I agree. I do. I just think, for me, it's not so much what John Emery can do. It's what the other backs on this team just aren't capable of doing, which is, breaking tackles. Armani Goodwin had a really good game last week. But last year's best game was against an FCS team as well. So, I want to see more out of him, break more tackles, get some explosive runs. But I like his energy. He obviously he's got the speed to be great. Obviously, Josh Williams gives you a lot as a reliable player. Had a pass protection mistake versus Florida State, though. That was pretty big. And then Noah Cain is your best short yardage back. Very creative short yardage runner for LSU. So we'll see. We'll see. See here? I want to show you Skipper right here. Look at that. Now, I want to ask you a question to each and every one of you out there. Why haven't you joined the PHL T-shirt club? Honestly. Here's one of our patrons right here, Roger Dodger. He told me it was going to be on a live stream tonight. There's Leonard. Who can forget this beauty? Look at her. Look at her. I'll always keep this one here. Aaron's cake. I don't think Aaron's in here anymore, but every T-shirt purchase, you're getting a Jayden Daniels card. I mean, LSU quarterback? Are you kidding me? What's happening? You want a Lemonade Twang shirt? I'll send you a Lemonade Twang shirt. Friday, join the T-shirt club. I'll send you. I'll give you some of that Lemonade Twang. Skipper says if Daniels is forced to throw good passes, it will not be good for us. That's what they're going to try and do. But if you stay ahead of the sticks, it becomes easier. Emory Jones, yes. Doomerville, we'll see. But I would love to see Emory Jones. I need to go back and watch Doomerville snaps versus Southern. Blake, all you got to do, Venmo, Cash App, at Card of the Power, right there. Just follow along. If you have any questions, we'll get it taken care of. At Power Hour LSU on social media. And if you haven't, why haven't you followed me on Twitter? Power Hour LSU on Twitter. We're at, I think, 450 followers or something like that. Or you can shoot me an email, powerhourlsu@gmail.com, and we'll get it all straightened out. Okay? So do either one of those things, Blake, or you can just send me a Venmo, Cash App at Card of the Power and email me all your information. That's all you got to do. Not all your information. I don't want to steal your identity, Blake. I don't. Because I don't think I could do what you do. I couldn't. Throw on first down. Big thing. Oh, we were a little too predictable on first down last year, just in general. Let's see here. The whole time. Ha, ha, ha. So if it comes down to a shootout, will we have a chance? I think Daniels can sling it all over. Pause. I don't know if that was worthy of a pause. I don't know if that was worthy of a pause. Was that much of an Inuit sling it? I'm going to sling it. I don't know. There was a lot more plausible phrases you could have used to describe Jayden at that spot. Hello from Philippines. Enjoy your videos. So keep us Louisianans up to date over here and around the world. It is interesting. Daigle, everyone welcome Daigle to the channel. Okay. Love that. We actually do have some PHLers in the Philippines, right? Shout out to Charlie, one of my really good buddies. Yeah, we got a lot of viewers. Actually, I say a lot, but a lot for the Philippines. I know 3 in the Philippines. So everyone welcome Daigle Jeremy V. Show some clap emojis all the way in the Philippines. Ah, there you go. Bryce joined the PHL t-shirt club. Uh-oh. That PHL swag. Let's go, Bryce. All right, Bryce, you shoot me an email, powerhourlsu@gmail.com, and I will ship out your shirt. There you go, Bryce. Just email me, and we'll get you taken care of. Really excited about this. Mickey was a really good coach for us. It was also time for him to embark on this journey, right? And I think he's got a shot at this head coach job, right? This buyout is going to be this buyout's going to be insane. It's going to be absolutely insane. With Scott Frost, right? You know, paying the extra $7.5 million. I think it's going to be a settlement or something like that. So they probably won't pay the full amount there. But I do think it was time for Mickey to go coach at his alma mater. At LSU, though, he's one of the best position coaches just based on what he's done. So I'm really excited about this opportunity for him. You know, a lot of people wondered if he was going to be the interim last year for Orgeron. So yeah, best of luck to him in that spot. Why do LSU fans keep saying JD5 is an issue throwing the ball? His QBR is 90.9, 5 TD, 0 interceptions, 77.8 completion percentage, second in the SEC. Yeah, it's not a statistical thing. It's just, you know, a tape thing, right? Like there have been times where he could have thrown it, but he ran it. So if you don't throw it, which, you know, there could be a drop, there could be a deflection, or it could be a lot of different things, and you run it, that in theory is going to raise your completion percentage, right? QBR is also heavily influenced by running, which it honestly brings up a good point here, Denley. A QB run is a very efficient play, right? When QBs run, whether it be scramble or design runs, they do gain more yards than most running backs do when running backs run. Right now, those numbers are heavily influenced also by sacks counting against your rushing total. But yeah, just watching some of Jayden's play, they're having instances where he could have let it rip. So it's just one of those things. But you could still be a really good quarterback and be a tuck and runner, right? You just want to find a happy medium there as well. So there you go. But it is a good point. Like, he's not a terrible thrower of the football. This is not this is not like a Tim Tebow situation, if you will, at the NFL level. Tim Tebow was obviously a great thrower in college. Ryan, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I also love this photo. I just love a good dog avatar, right? Very good super chat. So how do I think Jim Brock will attack the 3-3-5? I think counter, like what we've been mentioning. So I won't just say counter again. It is interesting. Like, I didn't get to watch, Mississippi State's game versus Memphis, but the fact that they dismantled Memphis the way that they did was very impressive to me. The Arizona game was also very impressive to me. That score line, it was a close game in the first half, but the right team ended up winning by the right amount. Mississippi State had a ton of drops offensively. Drops, one of which went directly for an interception. They played not their best, and they still destroyed Arizona. The 3-3-5 is tough because I think Mississippi State's defense is pretty good. If you were to say, hey, Carter, pick a defense, ours or theirs, I'm taking theirs. I mean, their defense is probably better than ours, which is, kind of strange to say, but it just is, right? These last few years, I wouldn't say their defense was more talented than ours. It's just our scheme wasn't as good as theirs. But yeah, you do wonder about, their defense. They are tough. They are thick. They are physical. They play well together. Arnett is a really good defensive coordinator. So, for me, darling, pause. No, that's actual pause right there. For me, Ryan, it's going to be hard. It's going to be really hard to move the football. Now, the good news is I still like our wide receivers better than I like their defensive back room. I still like the fact, Ryan, I highly recommend everybody. I did a deep dive. I did a full video on this. And part of the reason why I did a video instead of just talking about this on the live stream is that it's hard to do this type of video because there's a lot of data in the video. This is a defense that played 78 plays versus a dual threat quarterback who a team that didn't get back till 10 in the morning on Sunday. And defenses historically struggle in back-to-back road games. They just do. It's going to be tough. So if I'm running this kind of defense, I know that they're going to double Kayshawn. So I would do a lot more of the 3-by-1 or 2-by-2 with the tight end being on Kayshawn's side and allow Kayshawn to draw coverage and then just take advantage of Jack, Jure, BTJ, and Malik Eaton on the other side. So I do think this could be a big betch game. I really do. So we'll see. I know. PowerHourLSU@gmail.com. Or if you're on Twitter or Instagram, shoot me a message at PowerHourLSU, and that goes for anybody. Okay. Let's see here. It's amazing. So it's a little bit different, when you release like a very like heavily edited video that's controlled, right? So there's like, I'll explain this or I'll share this with you guys. It's different, like if I do one of these deep dives, they never do well according to the YouTube analytics, especially considering how much time it takes. I actually did months of research on that back-to-back road game thing because a few years ago, when LSU had that performance, none of it made sense, right? Versus Ole Miss. Ole Miss had by far their best game offensively, statistically, and we had by far our worst game statistically, defensively, in the Aranda era, especially if you account for competition. And we knew their quarterback was just going to run the ball. So why did they gain so many yards on us? And, it was kind of fluky, right? And I was like, whoa, wow, LSU doesn't ever play back-to-back road games. And maybe that's the case because kind of like Mississippi State, after the Alabama game, if you remember, it was a scene. Like, I know this isn't the equivalent because Clemson is a national championship game, but ask most LSU fans and ask Joe Burrow this. He said after the Alabama game, they knew that they were going undefeated. And honestly, we really didn't play many close games outside of the Clemson game after that one. The truth is after the Alabama game, it was a movie, right? That was huge. So it was so huge that we beat Alabama. So you get back, we got back late, and they had the fans waiting for you at the airport. And you didn't get in bed probably until like 2 or 3 in the morning. And our defense was really tired. Go back and rewatch the game. We were barely moving. Grant Delpit was out there on one leg. We were toast. We were freaking toast. And I think Mississippi State's going to have some heavy legs because if you go watch the Arizona game, they were running that was an exhaust. Arizona didn't do much, but their quarterback, he's not that good. But as far as extending plays are concerned, he is as good as Manziel, right? As far as like just extending a play. Now, what's the quarterback's name? Delara. What happened after he threw the football though was a circus. So it's very, very, very interesting. Mike agrees with Dinley. Oh, Blake, can I say where you're from? I'm not going to give like your actual address. Okay. Blake, let me know if I could say where you're from because it is very ironic, especially since what we're talking about. You said you like the counter and it could be advantageous this week. Has LSU shown it already this year? If yes, to what success? Hit that like button, folks. We've not run a lot of counter. I guess I need to go rewatch every single play again to like do. Here's a dad joke. I need a counter for counter. Huh? I guess we need a count for the counter. Don't you wish we had a counter to count the counters? Don't you? Did you type Y for yes? Type in for no. Did you get it? Do I need a counter to count the counters? Did you get it? Type Y for yes. Type in for no. Just let me know because you get it. Because I need a counter to count the counters to keep up count with the amount of counters that we run. There we go. We got some super dads of PHL and a super mom of PHL jumping in there. and you count the counters. I'll go back and look at that for you, Mike. So Pegasus is making me explain it again. So here we go, just for Pegasus here. So, you know, like you have like counters to count things. Like not everybody's got, you know, the vampire from Sesame Street, right? I wish I did, because he would be able to count the counters. Get it? So there's a football play named Counter, and I wish I had a counter to count the counters. So the joke is, you know, like a pitch counter, right? I wish I had that kind of counter to count, as in like 1, 2, 3, the amount of counter, which is a play design that we run. So it was a triple entendre, if you will, right? And that is Carter the Power and Behind the Bits. See you next time. Let's go. We should use a bunch set against Mississippi State. It will cause their DBs to cover more ground and think more. Lots of trip bunch. I love it. Plus, we could still run some off-tackle RPOs. Let's do the RPOs. Something else you could do versus a 3-3-5 is you could put their linebackers in conflict, right? I think LSU is going to run a lot of RPOs. I think that's what they're going to do. It's the hardest thing, right? You know what's interesting is this is something Jeremy and I have talked about, and Jay Hill, every time he's on our channel, and he was on last Thursday, every time he's on our channel, this question's always asked him, hey, why don't you coach? And what he and I have talked about, and you know, we watched the end of the Florida State game together. He came to the PHL meetup at Stumpy's in New Orleans. And by the way, go to Stumpy's. It's a very fun establishment. What's very interesting is he brought up an interesting question to me. He said, Carter, what play call would you run here? Now, every time I look at a defense, I have an idea of what kinds of plays I would run, but it is really hard to predict and pick which plays are going to work versus certain defenses, right? And it's a lot easier to do after the fact, you know, when I'm just cutting a film study, than it is to do before the fact, right? There's so many different factors that come into it. But I do think the RPO game could be good, especially if you can get the running game going. So there you go. So I want to shout out where Blake is from. Blake is one of the many Alabama PHLers. I'm telling you, I got as many viewers in Alabama as I do PHL. He lives in Prattville, Alabama. Now, where is Prattville? Is that Montgomery area? Is that Birmingham area? Is that close to T-Town, Auburn? Branson, what's good, man? It was good to see you again. You've not been gone that long. No. Hit stick. Sippy dog. Florida State is not that good. LSU is in trouble. Whatever y'all did this past week against Southern doesn't matter. Oh, well, thanks for that sentence. This drives me insane. Okay, this drives me freaking insane. All right. I cut something, and I say this in the video. Okay, I said it in the Florida State Duquesne film study. I said it in the Southern film study. No effing you know what. That what LSU did versus Southern doesn't really matter. Okay? You're not informing anybody that the level of competition wasn't that great. You're not reinventing the wheel. Like, you're not giving Kirk Herbstreit level analysis here. Okay? So it's you're Are you really educating LSU fans on who they played this weekend? Don't you think LSU knows a thing or two about Southern? It drives me in freaking insane. Okay, if you're gonna be a viewer from a different fan base, come with something better than, oh my God, y'all beat Southern and y'all think y'all are all that. Not a daggum soul has said that tonight. And for a gazillion times, I've said Mississippi State's a good team. Okay. Let's go to Grant. Thank you for the super chat. Let's go. Are you worried about what the Pirate has up his sleeve? We haven't matched up well against him in recent years. Really good point here. So last year we actually did play pretty well against him. Towards the end, they started figuring us out a little bit, but still, Eli Ricks give up a touchdown. I don't think any of you, feel too bad about that now. So yeah, I have not checked in on the poll question though. Dre Jenkins is the winner of the poll question. Okay. Now I'm going to put up a quick break right here before I get to this next poll question. Let's see here. This is a good poll question. Why is this doing this? The poll question is up. Yeah, Grant, I do think Coach Kelly did say something very interesting, though. Like, what Mississippi State runs is what they run, right? They're just really good at running what they run. And it's not another counter joke. That's what the air raid is, right? It's death by 1,000 cuts. They just do things really well, right? Leach is kind of the modern godfather of mesh, right? Which, for those that aren't familiar with mesh, it's basically 2 drag routes from inside, or it could be outside receivers. And, Leach is a tough offense. They just are. So, yeah, I wouldn't worry too much about the linebackers and coverage. I mean, that's something that they can actually do. I do think Mississippi State's going to try and run the ball some. I do. I know it's not your normal thing, but, if I'm Leach and I watch, the film versus Southern, right? But once again, this Mississippi State guy thinks, no big deal. You can't learn anything about Southern. The Southern tape does show LSU struggled to stop the run. They did. Statistically, it doesn't show, but we did give up some holes. So there you go. Welcome to the channel, JJ. LSU needs to run well, dominate time of possession, rest defense. Welcome, Blaine. Good to see you. Here's what I'll say about like the time of possession. So I got a text here from a patron. My picture is stopping for 2 to 3 seconds, and then my lips move again. Type Y for yes, type in for no. Are any of you having video issues? Type Y for yes, type in for no. Let me know. I just want to make sure everybody is on the same page here. We did have a Wi-Fi reboot. We had our Wi-Fi company come out here this morning while I was recording my NFL show. And Z was going crazy. So I should be a little more clear here. So Type Y for yes, type in for no. The video is fine. Type Y for yes if you think the video is fine. And I should have been more clear. The video is fine. Type Y for yes, type in for no. Okay, so Jacob says it is fine. Yes. Yes. Denley, good to see you in here tonight. Denley, I might have you say you're also somebody that's connected to New Roads, right? I always want to keep in touch with all the New Roads PHLers. So that's some small town Louisiana for you. Okay, we're all good. It's fine. I was a little shocked, as Sibley pointed out. Like, I don't know what it was. Like, Southern, even, you know, yeah, they're FCS, but they did just play bad. I don't know what it was, honestly. Could it be beating somebody? And you know, this gets you, and I'm gonna say something that might make you feel a little uneasy. Sometimes, and Jared, you actually brought this up recently, so I'm glad to have you up. Good to see you back, Ahmad. There you go. Born and raised in New Roads. I think I just gave myself a paper cut. There we go, Denley. My people definitely probably know your people. I didn't grow up in New Roads, but I spent my summers there. I love it. I go back for Mardi Gras every year, man. Actually, this was my first year back since 2018, maybe. It's a vast New Roads Mardi Gras. Let's go. So you do wonder, could playing such a team that basically did just give the game away, could it hurt? There we go. Lots of Marines in the PHL Nation. Good to have you, man. He's back from the dead. Now, is this president number 2 or president number 6? You have to admit, Paul Giamatti killed that role. Killed it. That was peak Giamatti. Ahmad, good to see you back. Lots of active military and former military veterans that watch the show. Stacy, number 2. Good to see you. But you do begin to wonder that, right? Like you do begin to wonder if you're playing a team that bad didn't really give you a look per se. I don't buy into that. I am a big believer in rest, unless it's the first game of the season, obviously, as we've seen. So yeah, Jordan is picking Mississippi State. That's fine. They're a really good team. Music sees LSU losing as well. It's very interesting. I have seen a lot of LSU fans pick against LSU on the spot. Okay. Tate, welcome to the channel. I have no idea what this is in your hand. J Ward is your new nickel. It's true. Yeah, it's a downside, Sibley points out here, of playing these home and home games, right? So, like when Clemson plays LSU, LSU fans are going to show up in big numbers. But if Clemson comes to LSU, Clemson fans are going to show up in big numbers because that's a bucket list thing, right? And yeah, I mean, look, these non-conference games have been really good for the sport. Texas, Alabama, the most viewed college football game, whatever. Well, what was it? I don't remember. It was something like that. But honestly, Tennessee Pitt was an incredible freaking game. Florida State LSU was an incredible freaking game. Now, we played bad. It was sloppy, but the ending was great. And it is interesting because you do get these two brands, Notre Dame, Ohio State. How freaking cool is that, right? It's better. It makes it better for you, right? I love these good non-conference games. Whatever we could do to keep this, it'd be great. And we lost to Florida State. I still loved it. I still loved it. Like the fact that we played freaking Florida State. Are you kidding me? That was the first time we played since the 90s. And those are two of the biggest brands in the sport. Yeah, I guess it's just anecdotal depending on where you were. I don't have like a final number on it. There you go, Jamar. Getting some confidence in there for Charles Turner. Good question, Isaac. I don't know. I will say this though. All right, one thing I do want to include about Brian Kelly, and I was actually so if you're just now joining us, earlier tonight I did a deep dive, right? And a lot of people went crazy because I talked about LSU and Ole Miss in 2019, but they didn't bother to watch the whole video to see the point I was making. When I do like a deep dive, I sometimes I'm not able to get the video out because like if I do a recruit like breaking news story, so and so commits to this school, it gets a ton of views and it doesn't really take that long to put together, right? You're just saying, hey, this kid committed here. This is what I think about it. But I'm just going to share something with you personally. I get more out of the deeper research kind of things, which is part of the reason why I joined Patreon, right? People that want to see those kinds of things, like a deeper film study. We do like bonus film studies on there. Um, you do get to see a little extra something, right? But this was something I found to be very interesting about Brian Kelly, and I'll share it here, is over the past couple of years, he has had a lot of luck when it comes to the opposing team's quarterback for whatever reason not being available to play, right? So a quarterback will get hurt the week before, not play versus Notre Dame, but be healthy afterwards. It would just be a bunch of freak luck that went in Brian Kelly's favor. And I could actually look it up. I could actually pull it up right here. Let me see if I could find it. It's somewhere in this pile of notes here. Actually happened 3 times last year. Purdue had not went from Jack Plummer to Aiden O'Connell just yet. And Aiden O'Connell, of course, is one of the better quarterbacks in the Big Ten. Virginia lost Brennan Armstrong the week before Notre Dame. Virginia was a really good team last year, and Armstrong was a really good quarterback. And it wouldn't have mattered here. Georgia Tech is just bad, but Jeff Sims, their starting quarterback, was out for that game. It happened a few times in 2020 as well, where in 2020, Kenny Pickett got hurt the week before LSU and Notre Dame played. And Trevor Lawrence got hurt the week before, where he had, the virus the week before they played Clemson, and they beat Clemson in South Bend. So, you know, it helps your win-loss record when you don't have to face the other team's best quarterback, right? And it's not new for any coach. If you play a good quarterback, it's hard to win those games. Well, Rodgers is a really good quarterback. Is Will Rogers one of the top 3 quarterbacks LSU will play this year? I don't think so. I think KJ's better. I think definitely Bryce Young is better. And you guys know I'm a big Hendon Hooker guy. I think Hendon Hooker's better. So it's obviously going to be a little bit different, right? You're facing a pocket quarterback, and that opens up, some pass rush opportunities for you. So it's interesting. Here's one of our patrons right here. Would the antidote at Mississippi State be running the football, or do you score as many points as possible and dropping the coverage? I'm going to go to something that Brian Kelly said. You don't want to overthink your offense, right? I am not sure if we can run the football efficiently, right? I'm just not sure about that. Maybe Johnny Marie changes that for us. You just got to do what you do best, right? You should not sacrifice efficiency just for the sake of, well, we want to rest our defense. Well, one thing that'll get a defense back out on the field really quickly, a 3 and out, right? So yeah, I think, the goal is to just put up as many points as possible. I think a lot of coaches get into trouble with the mental gymnastics of burning the clock, playing the clock, so on and so on and so on. It's why a lot of professional bettors only bet first halves, right? Because the second half of games can get very, circumstantial and different, right? So let's use this as a hypothetical. Let's just say you had a model that showed that Florida State was a better team than LSU, right? But, I had a lot of questions about LSU going into that Florida State game. I brought up a few matchups I thought I didn't like for LSU. If I were to bet that game, and let's just say I liked Florida State, the first half would probably be a better wager because Mike Norvell can get shaky in the second half of games. And you start to do things you normally wouldn't do over the course of a football game, such as play very, very abnormally soft defense, which is what Florida State did in that juncture. LSU is better at running up-tempo stuff. It's been better for them offensively. I hope if that is what LSU does best offensively, they don't say, look, we can't do the up-tempo stuff because I am afraid of LSU in their defense getting back onto the field too quick. You don't really need to worry about that, especially now, considering you don't have a difficult opponent the next week, right? So just worry about winning this game, playing your best that you possibly can play. And don't worry about, pace of play or anything like that. Just do what you do, right? If Brian Kelly feels running things faster is better for us, well, let's outpace them. Because look, their defense is going to be really tired. They played an exhausting game versus Arizona. 76 plays was the second most plays that they've run defensively over the past 2 years. So they're going to be tired as well. If I'm just looking at this objectively, the video that I released earlier, this is a tough spot for Mississippi State on the back end of a back-to-back road game. There we go. There you go. So Nola Grizz, one of the many boat captains of PHL. Shout out to you. Good to meet your crew. Very fun crew, by the way. Best PHL, the best of the Power Hour universe. Can't wait to come down to New Orleans and get in the boat with you. Nola Grizz, nothing like cruising down the river and seeing Carter the Great on live. Nola Grizz is also We were shouting people out earlier. We were talking about the super dads of PHL, but also earlier we were talking about something very, very, very important. Okay. The 3 T-shirt club, and Nola Grizz is a member of the 3 T-shirt club. There you go. Creek says, I don't want to see these cowbells. Ha, ha, ha. I love it. Got to have great DBs to beat Mississippi State. We had Elias Ricks last year. Kidding. Eli's a good DB. It is interesting, though, seeing him sulk on the Bama sideline. Ain't nothing like a PHL live, baby. Ain't nothing like it. Oh, man. So I just got a text from my buddy. Okay. Ships. Excuse me, no, Grizz. I want to jump on anything water related. I'm bad. Okay. So I do have to share this though. I just got to chill down my freaking spine. Okay. It's pretty big. So my buddy just texted me and he's at my wedding. And y'all, this is big. Okay. So growing up, I had 2 people. Okay. The 2 biggest people that influenced my career. I'm looking at you right now. Not looking at the comments. I'm looking at you. The 2 biggest people in my career, Stuart Scott, Colin Cowherd. Those are 2 biggest. No other broadcaster comes close. Now, there's a lot. John Saunders is one of them that I love. So, Colin Cowherd. Okay. So, this was just announced. Man.
Coming to the volume this NFL season, I'll be joined by the coolest guy in all of football, Joe Burrow. And boy, am I ready. Coming
to and I'm going to lose all my monetization because I played the song. Dang it. I shouldn't have done that, but I'm really excited about that. I'm going to get a ton of emails from YouTube. You were playing copyrighted music. Huh? So I just lost a lot of money by playing that video, but I am super excited. Joe Burrow and Colin Cowherd. That's my upper echelon of my heroes. My best friend just texted me. Okay, and he's a big Cowherd guy. Right here. And the funny thing about it is I'm also a big Draymond guy because I was a Michigan State basketball fan. I just kind of liked them. And when I was young, I watched the Mo Pete and Mateen Cleaves national championship game, and I hated Florida. So I was really excited to see them win. I just lost my monetization status for this video. Are you freaking kidding me? So it's funny. Okay. I was super excited for my former podcast co-host to join the Cowherd Network, T-Bob. T-Bob's been a friend of mine for a long time, since his playing days. And he and I used to do a show together. So I haven't really listened to him on there just yet, but I'm going to, because I'm a big fan of T-Bob. I think T-Bob is so freaking talented. I really do. And I've been on 104.5 with him, I think once or twice. I don't remember. But yeah, Joe freaking Burrow, man. My top 10 favorite people, those two are in there, right? So Stuart's got Colin Cowherd. If you want a key to my heart, those are my two guys right there. The two best sports broadcasters of all time. What about Bob Costas? What about Howard Cosell? Those are my two. You know, you could have your own. You can have your Dan Patricks or whoever. Joe freaking Burrow? Are you kidding me? Been a Cowherd guy since 2011. Joe Burrow and Cowherd. I'd watch you 1001, Colin. Well, look, here's the thing, okay, about like sports broadcasting. And by the way, here's what we're going to do. If it is in your heart's desire, since I did just lose monetization status. The last time this happened was when, you guys probably remember this. I didn't know the sound was playing because I don't wear headphones during this. When I played the NBA Youngboy Gritty music over and over for like the first 5 minutes of the live stream, and it was loud. I couldn't, because I was just playing the Twitter video of Brian Kelly Grittying or whatever. But if it is in your heart's desire, feel free to drop a super chat, because as we always do at the end of the show, the next 5 minutes, I'll answer as many questions as I possibly can. But if you super chat, we'll continue. We'll talk about sports broadcasters here at the end. But if you do have an LSU related question or college football related question, it obviously, just let me know. But nobody inspires me in sports broadcasting like those two people did. Stewart allowed me to be myself. It was important for me to see someone that looked like me, talked like me, had all this energy, didn't really care, pissed people off because he was himself. The bottom line is, you're not going to like everybody, right? I think part of why, I've had success doing this show, and I feel like I've not had enough. I want more. I want, keep growing this thing. I want Power Hour SEC to blow up. Is you're just not going to please everybody. You're not. You got to do things your way. And I understand Colin is not someone that a lot of people like. I will tell you this. I did get to work with Colin for a week at the Super Bowl in New Orleans in 2011. And I was a big fan of his then. Ever since I heard him on ESPN, I was like, okay, that guy does like sports commentary the way that I did it. I just always really appreciated that, man, because he always said something, right? He always had an opinion. I felt like a lot of sports radio doesn't do that. They don't compel you, right? But if you do that if you do, my channel's not really like Cowherd. I think I saw a Shadow. You've been with me for a while, and you obviously know the media game really, really, really well with what you do, with highlights and all of that. But like, when you have energy and you say things and you do things and you have mannerisms and all of that, you're not going to have a big audience. And Cowherd obviously has a huge audience. It's just one of those things. So I love Cowherd, but the one thing I will say, and this should be the first topic that's brought up, is Cowherd wasn't a big Burrow guy coming out, and I was a huge Burrow guy coming out. Putting my biases aside, what a lot of national people got wrong about Joe was that his receivers were great, his running backs were great. He had the Joe Moore award-winning offensive line. He had great offensive coaches, and all those things were true, but Joe was also elite himself. They didn't see the runs that he made. They didn't see the types of throws he would make, that weren't touchdowns, that only show up on a highlight clip. If you watched every snap of Joe Burrow, and honestly, you want to know the game that made me believe Joe Burrow was going to be a great pro, was the Auburn game. The Auburn game was a game that he really had to figure out. They outplayed us. Their defense ran 88 plays. It was the only game where we didn't average at least 6 yards per play, and they got us. They ran 88 plays and still only held us to 23 points. But Joe took a lot of shots. He figured out how to win that game. And I was like, okay, Joe's going to be a great pro. That was a game. And I didn't feel that way when I watched Mac. I just didn't. And there was all these comparisons between Joe and Mac and a lot of other quarterbacks that had great supporting cast. They didn't watch it the same way you watched it. Now, there have been other LSU players that came out that I weren't high on as pros, but, it is what it is. So it should be interesting. Noah Grizz, I want to say thank you for your friendship. You and I, we had so much fun at the PHL get together. And you were the biggest surprise, right? Because, everybody went to the game. So during the game, we still had, a watch party. We still had people there watching the game. But, as the game went on, a lot of the people obviously there went to the game, and you just showed up out of nowhere. And I was like, no, are you kidding me? Because you were telling me that you're asking me when the pregame show started. I was like, oh, crap, Noah Grizz isn't coming. Okay. I'm sure you already answered this, but what impact do you see the return of John Emery will have this next game and the season continues? It's a big impact. Simply not necessarily because of what John can do. It's more so what we know the other running backs are at this point and what they have been up to this point in their careers. And this is Josh Williams, Armani Goodwin, and Corey Kiner. They are good running backs, but they don't break a lot of tackles. They don't have high explosive run rates. They're just your average college running back, right? 3 yards, 4 yards here, 3 yards there. And once again, I'm not asking John Emery to be Jeremy Hill. I'm not asking John Emery to be Leonard Fournette, but we played the clip over when Brian Kelly said exactly what I said, right? We don't really have anybody like a Fournette back there. So here's the thing. If John Emery comes back, I think him and Nicholas Brissett are very similar. And if he's Nicholas Brissett good, that is a huge jolt for what we are going to do. He is bigger. He's got, for me, better home run hitting ability. We've seen his home run hitting ability. It's a big impact because it does give us an extra option at running back to see what he can do. So there you go. Yeah, I guess the Romo comparisons were just more. I guess the Romo comparisons was more just because they wore number 9 and their bodies are legit, basically the exact same. But Joe can run. Joe can run really, really well. Now, he's not the same with the knee injury. I kind of got the Tony. I mean, Tony was a really good NFL quarterback. But, yeah, it's very, very interesting. And Grant, thank you for your super chat. Hopefully, I am on a Cowherd level, and I am making a Cowherd times Walker Howard announcement when he's, first pick in the draft, national championship Heisman Trophy winning. Oh, there's Michael B. I'm wondering where you were, man. Dad has an early appointment. Okay, message me tomorrow. Let me know how it goes. You want to know something really funny about this, Shadow? Is like one of the big reasons that I still do sports radio is because that's what I always wanted to do. And I still do some sports radio for a CBS affiliate in South Carolina. And, you know, I just love it. I freaking love doing I love the challenge of doing a 3-hour radio show. I really, really, really do. Even if it's in South Carolina and I don't know really anything too much about Clemson or South Carolina or whatever, I just love it. I just freaking do. Yeah, Isaac, thank you for the generous super chat, and I'm glad you asked about that. So, you know, it's kind of hard to do national stuff now because everything is just so, you know. Oh, wow. I'm glad you brought this up. This channel is starting to pop a little bit. Okay. It could just be that Arkansas fans legit consume a lot of media. But as you'll see here, that I want you guys to see this. A lot of you see my my view count on my channel. This channel has 232 subscribers, as you see here. But I want you to see the view count on these videos. This video I released 3 hours ago, 1.3 thousand views. And this one is going to get 10K views by the end of the night. So please go subscribe to Power Hour SEC. The reason why it's important to go subscribe now is that I can't start making money on videos until I get 1,000 subscribers. And as you see, I'm still a far ways away. So get your phone, get your wife's phone, get your and I'm not just saying you, Isaac, anybody. Get your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your main chick, your side piece. Take their phones and subscribe to Power Hour LSU and Power Hour SEC. So, yeah. I'll be on CBS. I love it, man. I love it. But yeah, you know, Isaac, I do an NFL show. It's football card related, and it's on another channel with my buddy Andy. So it's kind of like NFL stuff. I love the NFL. I just love the NFL. Now, I have relinquished watching the NFLs on Sunday so I can do film studies on Sunday, but I freaking love the league. I freaking do. The NFL is incredible. There's no other way around it. You are lying to yourself and it's fine if you don't like the NFL, but it is an incredible product. The players are amazing. The quarterbacks are so much better now. And I just love the league. I really freaking do. It could just be that I have an addiction of keeping up with LSU players in the NFL. Because here's the truth that we don't think about a lot is recruits want to go to the NFL. Well, Carter, no duh. Well, you know, a lot of recruits come to LSU not because they like LSU. They know you go to LSU, you can go to the league, right? And if I'm a recruit and I see freaking Russell Gage, who he had as many carries as he did catches in 2017. And by the way, if you join our PHL Patreon, we had a long debate today about Matt Canada. I am a huge Canada believer. I thought Canada at LSU was actually good. It's just him and Orgeron didn't get along, and Orgeron made the right decision to fire him. Canada was actually really good for us. If you go look at the R per play numbers and you go look just overall, he was really good for us with Danny Etling at quarterback. Danny Etling. We were good. So, yeah, Isaac, go to Power Hour SEC. You get more SEC stuff, but I love national stuff. I love the NBA. I think the NBA is in a great spot, man. Giannis, Luka, Ja, and look, my team is going to be good for a long time. You know, we got our Pelicans core, and I'm a huge Pelicans fan. My favorite thing on the planet Earth to do is go to a Pelicans game with my dad. My dad's my best friend. And we go to Pelicans games together. It's my favorite freaking thing to do on this planet because, you know, going to an LSU game, I've been fortunate to go to the last 4 national championship games. And and if I go to a game, I'm like, God, I need to be at home cutting up the YouTube film study and all that stuff. If I go to a Pelicans game, I'm just able to just enjoy it. And I'm freaking glad as a Pelicans fan, we're going to be relevant. We're going to make the playoffs. We are going to make some noise. We got freaking Brandon Ingram. We got freaking Zion. We're going to be freaking good. You know what's funny? I'm a big Danielson fan. I've done a lot of interviews with Gary at SEC Media Days. I freaking love Gary Danielson, right? He honestly is the kindest person. One thing I'll say about him and Cowherd, they never spoke down to me. I was with Cowherd for a week. He never spoke down to me once. Never. Millionaire radio host never spoke down to me. Gary Danielson never spoke down to me. Gary Danielson, I ate Chick-fil-A together in the mall in Birmingham. Never spoke down to me. I was the smallest radio station at SEC Media Days. Never, not once did he speak down to me. Other people did. They wouldn't give me the time of day. Those two are not liked by a lot of people. That's fine. I just know how they treated me, and that meant a lot to me. But hey, I understand. My mom and Skipper, I love my mom more than anybody. My mom hates freaking Gary Danielson. Hates Gary Danielson. Hates a strong word. She hates him. Okay. Oh, look. My call to action got me one extra subscriber. There you go. I am, Skipper. Very lucky. Go back to my economics professor, Dave Anderson. I don't remember a daggum thing he taught me. Assets, liabilities. That's it. But at the beginning of every class, he would always say, you might not learn a daggum thing. You might not pay attention, but every day call your parents and tell them that you love them, because the day that you lose them, you won't get that opportunity again. That's why I always do the super dads at PHLs, because of him. He's one of the few professors I remember by name, Dave Anderson. I didn't learn a thing in economics. I had a horrible grade. Always remembered that. Okay, and wasn't Alabama a freaking dynasty? Huh? And we actually didn't get shut out. We actually moved the football better than a lot of teams. The LSU teams in that time did. Actually, we actually played pretty well at Bama, all things considered. I think Danny Etling threw one of his 2 picks, and it was a bad pick. It was entirely on Etling. They were just better than us, but we actually played well. I remember Darrell Williams had a long run in that game. If I remember this correctly, I might be totally wrong on this. Heck yeah. We can go to a game together. I'm down. This is true, right? Just through my channel, I've had a few. Yeah, I mean, obviously, you guys know Jeremy. That's pretty public. But you've seen Ron Brooks jump on the channel. Ron and I we shared this. Ron and I have been friends for a while. But there are some other players that reach out and say that they appreciate what I do, and that means a lot, right? So yeah, I'm not a player. I'm not a former LSU player. Those guys know way more about this stuff. So the fact that they say that means a lot to me. It really does. So I'm just double checking here, and like I said a minute ago, I don't mean this disrespectful, Amaket. You're my guy. You're a member of the PHL T-shirt club. But Matt Canada wasn't the OC for the 10-0 game. Okay, he was the OC in 2017. That's an odd number year. We played Bama on the road, and while 4.2 yards per play was our season low, we did move the football some, right? We got shut out obviously in 2018, got shut out in 2016, 10-0. We scored 10. 10's not a lot, but we were still dealing with the residuals of our offense being in the Stone Age, right? That was great for us. Okay. So you take a look at our yard per play numbers that year. We had 4 games of 7 yards per play or more, and 6.2 is normally a good mark. If you average 6.2 yards per play, you're more than likely you're qualifying yourself for a college football playoff. That year, LSU averaged 6.2 yards per play. Now, if you Power 5 adjusted, that number's probably a little bit closer to 6. Maybe a little bit below 5 now if I look at the Power 5 adjusted numbers here. But then again, we played Tennessee in a monsoon. It was the winds were really strong. You couldn't throw it. The winds were like 30, 40 miles per hour. And if you go back and actually watch that game, Canada called a lot of creative red zone plays to get us free touchdowns in that game. Canada was a really good red zone play caller for us. Once again, 1 year, that was his only year there, with a head coach at the time who kind of threw him under the bus, was never really welcomed. Him and Orgeron never really got along. And with the Danny Etling-led team, we had 5 games of 6.9 yards per play or more. We won a lot of games. So I don't get the Matt Canada hate. Was he Steve Ensminger good? No. Was it the right decision to go back to Ensminger? Yes, but 2 things could be true at once. He wasn't bad. He was not bad. We say hi to Mick. Good to see you. By the way, a Matt Canada offense with Mitch Trubisky just beat, Joe Burrow and Cincy. Okay. So, I just don't get it. I don't get the I don't. The music, that's brutal. Let me see. When was Matt Canada? It was the end of the year. So January 5th, 2018, LSU and Canada mutually agreed to part ways. And then his 1 year in Maryland at 2018, they almost beat Ohio State. He was the interim coach there. It's a good question. I don't think either unit is particularly spectacular, but yeah, I'd be a little bit more scared of Mississippi State if they had Mekhi Polk still. Pelicans baseball team. Thank you, Isaac. Thank you for your super chat, man. It goes a long way, and I'm loving the photo here, the mountains in the backdrop. I mean, it was like 3 games in. It was honestly before that. They just did not like each other. There was just no other way around it. So there you go. Power Hour SEC. 230 subscribers. Pre-snap motion's good. I don't know why y'all don't like pre-snap motion. You want pre-snap motion. You know who else did a lot of pre-snap motion? 19 LSU. So LSU in 2017, 5 penalties per game if you Power 5 adjust it. So that is tied for second best in the SEC in penalties per game. So we didn't commit a lot of penalties. But yeah. It took me off for a second. There you go. Is that better, Ellie Mom? Huh? Exactly. It was 1 year. It was fine. So yeah. Thank you guys so much for making this channel great. So now I probably will record a podcast. Don't forget, please subscribe to the free Power Hour LSU podcast. It is on all platforms. Now, one thing that was a little disappointing tonight, I want more people joining the Patreon, right? Small fee per month. You get to talk to me one-on-one. We do one-on-one Zooms with our patrons if they decide to opt in. And you get to be a part of our PHL Discord. You get to know a little bit more about me. We got a dog channel. You can ask Skipper. The dog channel is actually the best channel where you just post photos of your pets. We've seen hedgehogs. We've seen it all in there. You also get some of my best bets of the week. In there, fantasy, we have fantasy leagues and all that stuff in there. So feel free to join our PHL Patreon. It does help. And as far as the podcast is concerned, just search Power Hour LSU on iTunes or Spotify, or Apple Podcast, Spotify. RSS.com is where it's hosted. So RSS.com/Power Hour LSU. You can listen to it there as well. I watch games with sound. And the reason why I do, Pegasus, is that I am a broadcast nerd. Like, I miss doing play-by-play. I miss doing high school play-by-play. My last year, I did play-by-play in color. So I was a one-man high school team for half the games. So I'm a broadcasting nerd. I like people that call good games. So, yeah, that's probably the main reason why I do it. Obviously, I'm a nerd, so I wish the camera broadcast angle was a little bit higher. I think it is better for fans, especially now with the replay. You get tighter angles anyway after the fact. So, yeah. Well, all right. We'll see you Thursday for our next live stream. If you want to see my deep dive from earlier. Okay. The one that's got people up in arms because I decided to play some Ole Miss clips. Okay. Right there. Okay. And as Skipper points out, PHL t-shirt. Want to shout out Mr. Stanley for joining the PHL t-shirt club tonight. Okay. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you. It is Power Hour LSU. Boom. And tonight, some chicken quesadillas. Let's go. Let's go, baby. Bye.